Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is another online class. Our topic for this online class is growth movement or irritability. This growth movement is divided into growth movement 1 and growth movement 2. In this online class, we are going to discuss growth movement 1. This growth movement 1 will base on the one type of growth movement, which is tropic movement or tropism. You are already familiar with the meaning of irritability. That irritability is the process whereby living organisms respond to the change in external and internal environment of the body so as to maintain suitable condition of life. Then a change in temperature is an example of external stimuli, while a change in pH of the substances is an example of internal stimuli. The pH is a measurement of alkalinity and acidity of a substance. Then type of responses of growth movement are tropic movement or tropism. Tropism or tropic movement is the unilateral growth of movement of plant parts toward the or away from directional stimuli. Another types of response is nastic movement or nastism, which is the growth of movement of plant parts towards or away from non-directional stimuli such as change in temperature. Then tactic movement is another type of responses. This tactic movement or tactism is the movement of all parts or body of a living organism from one place to the other. It is also referred to as locomotion. Then kinetic movement. The kinetic movement is the rate of change of a living organism in response to the intensity of stimulus and not direction of stimulus. That is, the stimulus does not control the direction of kinetic movement. Now let us look at the types of tropic movement or example of tropic movement. That tropic movement is the unilateral growth or movement of plant parts in response to a directional stimulus or stimuli. Example of tropic movement, then stimuli and effect are discussed in the table below. Then name of tropic movement is in the column 1. The stimulus for each of these response is in the second column, while the effect or example is in the third column. Then the first type of tropic movement is phototropism. Then the stimulus for phototropism is light. The effect of light on the plant part is that the plant shoots go toward the light, which is positive phototropism, while the roots of plant bend away from light. That one is negative phototropism. That is, the plant shoots are positively phototropic, while the plant roots are negatively phototropic. Another types of tropism is geotropism. Then the stimulus for geotropism is gravity or heart. The effect of gravity on plant shoots is that the plant shoots grow away from gravity, which is negative geotropism. That is, the plant shoot is negatively geotropic. Then the effect of gravity on the root of plant is that the root of plant grow or bend toward the gravity, which is positive eutrophism. That is, the plant roots are positively eutrophic. Another type of tropism or tropic movement is hydrotropism. Then the stimulus for hydrotropism is water. Then the effect of water on the plant root and shoots is that the plant shoot grow away from water, which is negative hydrotropism, while the plant roots grow or bend toward the water, which is positive hydrotropism. Another type of tropic movement or tropism is stigmotropism. Then the stimulus for stigmotropism is touch. Then the effect of touch on the plant part is that the tendrils of climbing plants such as yam twine around a support, which is positive stigmotropism, while the root tips grow away from support, which is negative stigmotropism. Now let us look at the experiment on each type of tropic movement. The first one to look at is phototropism, which is the response of plant part toward or away from stimulus of light. In the experiment, some germinating cowpea seeds are placed inside the two boxes, each with a hole cut at one end. Then the boxes are labeled box A and box B. The seedling in box B, the seedlings in box B are covered with aluminium foil. That is, the shoot of the seedling in the box B are covered with aluminium foil. Then the inside of each box is painted black to prevent the reflection of light. The setup is left to stand for about 3 days. Look at it. This is test experiment. That of box A is test experiment. Look at the hole that is made on one side of the box A. Another hole is also made in the one side of box B near the top. Look at the plants, that is seedlings, on the box A. They were not covered with anything. That is why the light source or light rays reach the shoot or the plants or the seedling in plants. The seedling in box A directly, that is, the light rays reach the shoot of the seedling in box A directly, and the shoot now bend toward the light rays or light source. The box A serves as test experiment. In the box B, that is control experiment, the shoots are covered, the shoot of the seedlings are covered with aluminium foil to prevent the light rays to reach the shoot directly. Thereby, the shoot is unable to bend toward the light source because the light did not reach the shoot of the seedling in box B. Now, let us look at the conclusion and observation of phototropism now. In the observation, the shoot of the seedling in box A bends toward the direction of light, while those in box B grow straight. Conclusion: the bending of shoots toward the light shows that shoots are positively phototropic, while the roots that does not bend, that do not bend toward the direction of light, are negatively phototropic. That is, the roots are negatively phototropic, while the shoots are positively phototropic. Now let us look at the geotropism, experiment on geotropism. Then this geotropism is the response of plant parts toward the stimulus of gravity. In the experiment on geotropism, some bean seeds are sown in small pots, one seed per pot. After the appearance of the first foliage leaves, these pots are placed in the dark in order to remove all responses of the light, and these seedlings are laid down in horizontal position. A seedling is pinned to a clinostat and allow the clinostat to rotate in a horizontal position so that the seedling will receive the stimulus of gravity equally in all directions. The setup in which a seedling is attached, in which the pot is attached to the rotating clinostat, is control experiment. Then the whole setup are left to stand for 2 or 3 days. So this is seedling, this is the pot. This pot is not attached to the clinostat, but it is bent, it is placed horizontally. In the second one, the second pot is attached to the rotating clinostat and placed horizontally. This one serves as test experiment. This one serves as control experiment. This one that is placed on rotating clinostat ensures that the shoots receive the stimulus of light equally in all directions. That is, the rotating clinostat ensures that the shoots in this box receive the stimulus of light equally in all directions. Look at the shoots in this test experiment. After 24 hours, the shoot in this one that is not attached to the clinostat bend away from the gravity, while the roots bend toward the gravity. The shoot bend away from the gravity, while the shoot bend toward the gravity. This is the seedling after 24 hours in the pot. Then seedling from the pot with soil washed off. Then let us look at the observation of the experiment on geotropism. After 2 or 3 days, the root deviates from its horizontal position and grow vertically downward. Downwards the gravity. The seedling in the rotating clinostat continue to grow horizontally because it received the stimulus of gravity equally in all directions. Conclusion: the growing of roots or radicles toward the gravities shows that they were positively geotropic, while the growing of shoots or plumels away from the gravity shows that the roots are negatively geotropic. Look at the drawing again. This is the diagram. Look at this drawing. The shoots grow away from the gravity, which is negatively geotropic or negative geotropism. The root now grow toward the gravity. That is, the roots are positively geotropic, and this growth is, or this movement is positive geotropism. This movement of shoots away from the gravity is negative geotropism. Now let us move down to hydrotropism. That is, let us move down to experiment on hydrotropism, which is the response of plant parts to the stimulus of water in the soil. There are experiments, or in the experiments on hydrotropism, or to demonstrate hydrotropism, some bean seeds are germinated in moist filter paper in a beaker. The troughs are filled with dry soil to about 2/3 levels. That is, the two troughs are filled with dry soil to about 2/3 level. As soon as bean seeds in the beaker germinate, the seedlings with very straight radicals are selected into one of the troughs labeled A, made small hole into it, and placed in the porous clay pot inside the trough. The pot is then filled with water and left in the soil unwatered. That is, and left in the soil that is unwatered. The seedling in the second trough, labeled B, without a porous clay pot, serve as control experiments. This one there is no porous clay pot here. This one that lack the tropi that lack porous clay pot serve as control experiments. And the soil, that is the seedling in the second trough label B without a porous pot, serve as control experiment, and the soil in it is well watered. The setup is left to stand for 2 to 3 days, after which the seedlings are carefully removed and examined. Observation. Before observation, let us look at the drawing. So this is the diagram for the test experiment. trough A. The setup trough A serve as test experiment. What make it to serve as test experiment is the presence of this porous clay pot. This porous clay pot consists of water. This is dry soil. There is no water in this dry soil, and the water now leak out. The water is leaking out from this porous clay pot into the dry soil, and the leaking of water out of the dry clay soil make this dry soil to be watering. Look at the roots. These are the roots. The root now bend toward the direction of the water. This is dry soil. So this is already the soil at the top already watered, and you can see that the roots, these roots are bending toward the direction of watered soil. They are bending to the water. They are bending toward the water. The roots are bending toward the water. That movement of roots toward the water is positive HYDROTROPISM. Look at the second trough, which is trough B. There is no porous clay pot, and the soil is already watered. Then if you look at the root did not bend toward anything. The root just grew downward. So this one serves as control experiment. This one serves as test experiment. Now let us look at the observation now and conclusion. The seedling in the trough A, that is observation. The seedling roots, that is the roots of the seedling in the trough A, curved toward the water, while those in trough B remain straight. Conclusion: the bending of roots toward the source of water shows that the roots are positively hydrotropic. That is, the movement of roots toward the water is positive hydrotropism. Make sure that you study the diagram very well. These diagrams, you study them very well, you discover that the diagram for each of these movements explain the movement clearly, or explain everything clearly. Then for your assignments, make sure that you check the assignment portal. That's that about the growth movement 1. Inshallah, in the next online class we discuss growth movement 2. Assalamu alaikum.